Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Top 25 ranked matchup, Army, Notre Dame, Yankee Stadium, Saturday night. This is going to be a really cool game to watch. And I think if you're a Notre Dame fan, you probably feel better about heading into this matchup, considering you just played Navy a couple of weeks ago and looked pretty dang good. And this is an offense that you want to have some prep time for. You had kind of a week preparing for Navy. Now you get another week to prepare for Army. So you've had essentially 2 weeks to prepare for this kind of offense that you're going to see. Now, I will say this: Army, they throw in a couple of different wrinkles with this offense. I think Daly at that quarterback position, he's a legit dude. And you'll look at Army and say, you kind of know what you're going to get. They're running the football almost 90% of the time. That's number one in the country. But when they do decide to throw the football, they're only completing 60% of their passes. 11.8 yards per pass attempt, number one in the country. They're going to kind of lull you to sleep, and then they're going to try to get over the top with this passing attack. Average depth of target of 18.5 yards. If you're Notre Dame, you got to make sure you're disciplined. That's kind of one of the matchups I'm looking at. Kind of fired up to get into this matchup now. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a blast doing these preview prediction episodes. All the support y'all continue to show means the world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. Now, you start with this Army offense, and again, you know what you're going to get with Army. Yeah, I think now it's a matter of going out and executing and being disciplined. And again, how Notre Dame looked and kind of just overwhelmed Navy in the front seven just a couple of weeks ago. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you kind of want to see that same kind of performance because at the end of the day, when you watch that game with Notre Dame and Navy, it became pretty clear quick that Notre Dame along the lines of scrimmage and in that front seven were just kind of bigger, stronger, faster. Like it was just kind of a different caliber athlete that you saw on the football field between Navy and Notre Dame. I think you're probably going to see a very similar story. Now, I think the difference between Navy and Army is one, I think Army is just a very good football team. They executed at a high level. Navy kind of gave some uncharacteristic military academy mistakes to Notre Dame that you might not get Yankee Stadium Saturday night. I think the second thing you're looking for is just being disciplined. You look at teams that struggle to deal with Army, it's normally coming down to buying into a lot of the eye candy, getting undisciplined with your run fits. If you play assignment sound football, I think Notre Dame should, because they got the dudes to stop this Army rushing attack. I don't think we're questioning that. This linebacker play for Notre Dame extremely good. They've been good against the run pretty much all year. They've been a lead on defense pretty much all year. I think the way Army wants to keep this close and the way Army can keep this close is one, if they just execute their offense, but number two, can they hit some of those explosive plays in the passing attack? Again, they're going to run the football almost 90% of the time, but when they do throw, they're going to try to be explosive. They're going to kind of try to lull you to sleep and throw it over the top. Can you make sure you're not giving up those kind of plays to Army and make sure that they kind of have to just routinely move it down the field? And if you're Notre Dame, you're focusing on getting some negative plays, backing up this Army offensive. You can kind of get Army off schedule, those second and nines, those third and sevens, where they have to get a little bit more outside of their comfort zone, you might say, with their play calling. That's kind of what you're looking to do. And Notre Dame has been very good at creating negative plays. Can they do that Saturday night against Army and not give up the big plays? That's kind of what you're looking at on that side of the football. Now, you look at this Army defense, it's legit. And again, I don't think they've seen a offense like Notre Dame. They haven't seen a rushing attack like Notre Dame, but you start looking at the numbers, they're only giving up 10.8 points per game. That's number two in the country. They're only giving up 2.9 yards per carry. That's number five in the country. This Army team does not miss tackles. And that's something that Notre Dame has been very good at, especially in the rushing attack. You look at Jeremiah Love, 51 missed tackles forced on the year. Obviously, Price can get it done. Riley Leonard with his legs. If you're Notre Dame, you're just going to try to. And this is one of the things that if you're a Notre Dame fan, I think you're really liking down the stretch is I feel like Notre Dame has found, I would say, their identity on the offensive side of the football. They figured out how to build this offense around Riley Leonard. And what I mean by that is one, leaning into running the football, which has been the strong suit of this Notre Dame team, averaging 6 yards per carry. That's top 4 in the country. It's a top 10 scoring offense in the country. I feel like nobody really talks about that. This is a top 5 defense in the country, a top 10 scoring offense in the country. This Notre Dame team's checking a lot of boxes and really is complete, even though they've dealt with some really unfortunate injuries, even going back to the offseason. They're running the football well. And I think the biggest difference between Notre Dame right now and even going back to Notre Dame last year with Sam Hartman in 2023, one, you have a difference maker at quarterback. And I'm a Wake Forest alum, so I was a big fan of Sam Hartman. The one knock on Sam Hartman was, the arm talent was kind of average. He was kind of just an average athlete, couldn't really create for Notre Dame. Riley Leonard can do that. And although sometimes the consistency in the passing attack you want to see more of, Riley Leonard is a difference maker at the quarterback position. He can turn water into wine when plays break down. Sam Hartman just could not do that. So I think that one is a massive reason to believe in Notre Dame. And I think secondly, this offense in 2024, and shout out Coach Denbrock and this offensive staff, doing a really good job creating space. The yards after the catch numbers, they got over 1,000 yards after the catch on less than 2,000 passing yards. It's a really good number. Like, you look at this Notre Dame team and say, we're not going to push the ball vertically down the field a ton, but we're going to do a damn good job getting our playmakers the football in space and letting them work after the catch. I think that's where Riley Leonard is at his best. And I think, Riley Leonard's probably not a top 5 NFL draft pick, but can be a damn good college football quarterback if you suit the offense to his strengths. And I think Notre Dame has really done that the last 2 months of football. Now you get into the pick here. The line's sitting at 14 points. I feel pretty comfortable taking Notre Dame for a couple of different reasons. One, this is just a really tough matchup for Army. You know how good this front seven is and how disciplined Notre Dame plays in that front seven. Army, when they kind of go up against some of those teams like Notre Dame that just kind of have a different caliber of athlete as a football player, they kind of rely on, hey, can we get some free plays? Can we kind of break down this defense from a discipline standpoint? This is a very disciplined team that has a lot of guys that know what they're doing on the football field. So I don't think that favors Army. And I think secondly, I do think that this offense for Notre Dame, especially along the line of scrimmage and running the football, is something that Army hasn't seen all year. And although the numbers for Army are very good stopping the run, I think Notre Dame is going to be kind of a different animal here. So I kind of struggled to see Army really running up the score, especially with this Notre Dame defense and what we've just seen from them against Navy a couple weeks ago. And I would kind of pick Notre Dame to not have their way because I feel like that's disrespectful to this Army team. This Army team can play on defense. It's one of the better defenses in the country, but they haven't seen an offense like this. And I think Notre Dame really starting to find their stride on offense and Army struggling to score the football. I'm going to take Notre Dame here to cover the 2 touchdowns. It's going to be a really fun game. And I think this is an opportunity for Notre Dame to play a top 25 team and, again, kind of send a message that this team's legit, because you do have those murmurs about Notre Dame not playing a very great schedule. This is one of those opportunities very similar to Navy, very similar to the opportunity you're going to get at the end of the season to kind of show, hey, although we haven't played elite teams in 2024 besides Texas A&M on the road week 1, still a really good football team. I think this is an opportunity for them to show that. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.